Good morning. My name is Tony Chargan, and I'm going to talk to you today about what fun it is to be on the race committee at St. Francis Yacht Club. Welcome to this new season. For those of us that missed the 2020 season, this is a review of on-the-water race committee activities. For those of you that may be new to our regattas, I hope that this presentation will help you decide to join us for this season as well as seasons in the future. There are prerequisites to participate with us. You have to love the outdoors. You have to love the wind and the water and getting wet. You have to love helping people have fun. You have to enjoy the camaraderie. You have to have the ability to focus amid mayhem. You have to have physical agility needed to be on a bouncy boat. If you can't quite do that, we have a race deck, which is a solid platform that we run races from, mostly on weekday evenings, but sometimes on weekends as well. And most of all, you have to want to have fun. These are the basic race committee roles. Mark said boats have driver and a crew. The signal boat crew consists of principal race officer, recorder, flags, sounds, and timer. On the shore side, we have a scorer and a PR person, potentially. U.S. Sailing has ratings for race officers, judges, and umpires. Of course, every event has a chair, which we most of the time refer to as regatta chair. Typical staff on a rigid inflatable boat, RIB, that's what RIB stands for. There's a 3-person crew. There's a captain who knows how to lay out the course. As the knowledge of driving a power boat is not sufficient, you really need to know all of the others ins and outs of laying out the course. There's an experienced crew member who knows how to perform basic functions of anchoring, knots, wind reading, speed, direction, current, GPS operation, and so on. And then there's a beginner crew who need not know anything specific, but we expect that if the person doesn't know how to tie a bowline knot, by the end of the day, the person will be knowledgeable enough to do that. My own criteria is 10 times without an error. You gotta keep repeating until you can do it. The only requirement is physical agility to be on a bouncy boat. This is just to show you a visual how complex a race course might be. There's a starting line, there's a finish line, there's windward mark 1, windward mark 2, and leeward mark in front of the starting line, leeward mark below the starting line. There's a number of combinations of races that can be run on this with multiple fleets. We have a whole bunch of equipment, bunch of boats, ribs. We have yellow cones, red cones. We have red balls, small and big. We have white balls, small and big. Which anchor to use, how long are the anchor lines for a particular course you're going to use, what other equipment you might need. Boat captain knows all of that. And the final setup for a specific race is decided at the pre-race race committee meeting. The course setting up starts with a signal boat who is about to anchor here. Once the anchor line is tight, we have 2 waiting ribs. They're going to use the GPS to ping the location and use that as a reference point for the rest of the day, unless, of course, current changes and there's a reset. So when the ribs are not setting marks, what do? Well, they keep an eye on the fleet. In this case, there's an international 14 without a jib, so our crew is on station to help if needed. And sometimes there's a challenge for a rib. If you end up being a missing mark or a finish line or something similar, and you have to anchor. In this case, the anchor line is not even tight. The wind is from the west side, as you can see it coming in from the left. The current is ebbing. You can tell that by the color of the water. So the anchor line is not even tight. So in that circumstance, if you have skill enough to recognize all of this, you would put the engine in reverse, tighten up on the anchor line. It can be reverse idle, so you don't pull on the anchor, and that will keep the boat in fixed position. And there is really nothing to do. You still have to stay alert. This is kind of a classic look as to what the boat should look like when at idle. The captain is looking to port. One crew is looking starboard, and the other crew is looking stern. And if they see something, they're going to pronto head in that direction. And then the most fun for me is lifting up the anchor, because we don't do that with muscle. We do that with the floating ball, which has a ring that's that has the anchor line that slides through it. So when you power up on a rib, the anchor line goes through that ring and pulls up the anchor off the bottom. So all we have to do is pull a line along the surface of the water. This signal boat is set up in a westerly wind. You can tell by the flags, and the anchor line is going toward the Bay Bridge, which says this is a net current. There are 5 team members. There's principal race officer, timer, flag, spotter, recorder. The timer and the flags talk to each other a lot. Spotter and recorder talk to each other a lot. Principal race officer talks to each of the pair. And so there's a lot of crosstalk going on, and you really have to focus on your specific job and listen and talk to only the person that you're working with. The team members need to rely on each other. And this would be a typical busy day, multiple fleets. There's a fleet coming downwind to go around the lower mark upwind of the starting line. There's a fleet getting ready to start. If you do this right, you can sync them so that you don't have boats going upwind in the middle of the boats going downwind. So in this case, you time it so these folks are around the mark before the start happens. This one is a little easier. West wind, flat current. You can see the flag and the anchor line are lined up. So it gets to be easier to do. This would be a starboard rounding. It's signified by the green flag, because the boats are going to go along the shore upwind, and they're going to go downwind offshore. And so we call that a starboard racetrack. Of course, the opposite is true in the ebb current. This gets to be really interesting at the starting line. This is west wind, ebb current. You can tell the anchor line is pointing toward the Bay Bridge. And these young sailors and opties misjudged the current, and they're on the windward side of the starting line, and they're trying to get back in time for a proper start. They still have time. This is a 4-minute signal flag, which is still up, so they have at least more than 1 minute to go, somewhere between 1 and 4 minutes, and hopefully they'll make it. Here's the easy start to look at. Flat current, west wind, one boat in trouble with a few seconds to go. If it's like 15 seconds, chances are the sailor will be able to get into this hole in front of these 3 lasers. If it's like 5 seconds to go, then you say, oops, over early. And they're off. Lasers are some of the toughest fleets to run races for because of number system. Plus, you can't see them on the way downwind when they finish across the line. There are 6 numbers on laser sails, so we only use the last 4, and that makes it manageable. We at St. Francis pioneered kites racing. Initially, wasn't thought that they could go upwind, but they go upwind just fine. Now they actually have evolved into foiling kites. These are really challenging because the numbers are on the shirts, not on boards or on the wings. And the most fun race to run is the big boat series. The sailors in the big boats are all graduates from dinghy regattas. So they get so close that these guys have to lift their feet up in order not to get scraped off on a committee boat. And so to them, inches in the big boats is just as good as inches in the dinghy. If you're in a race committee, it doesn't feel that way. And this is what I mean. This bow seems to be aimed directly at the committee boat. And nothing bad is going to happen here. This bow is going to have to turn around. There is no room between this boat and a committee boat. So that bow is pinched off and the boat will make a circle and all is well. If you're on the pin end of the starting line, which is in this case in the ebb current, the anchor line is pointed downwind. So in the ebb current, the boats have a tendency to slide along the line so as not to be over early. So there's usually an overwhelming number of them at the leeward mark. Of course, as a principal race officer, you adjust for that, but nevertheless, it happens. So this boat is going to go outside the starting line. We'll have to come back. This one may or may not clip the end of the this rib. That's why we run ribs with inflatable tanks rather than solid boats. And if you can't quite handle that, this is a cure for the seasick. We run regattas off the race deck, big mast, flags off the yard arm. Wilhite is our new signal boat. The shakedown occurred on 2019 Rolex Big Boat Series. Since then, we have a bunch more electronics goodies on it. It's a catamaran, so it's fairly quite stable, nice wide platform to work with. And one of the things I didn't quite anticipate, when it gets windy, you get hit with the same wave twice. In a single hull boat, there's a huge roll, you kind of get used to it. I'm still not quite used to the catamaran because of the double hit on a single wave, but I'll learn. Making up race committee teams is actually quite crucial so that everybody has a good time. We use the service database which you use to get to this meeting. We do read the information that you provide us so we can mix the skill sets so advanced people can help teach the beginners. We do need realistic self-assessment of your skills. Everyone has more fun when assigned to a task commensurate with their skill. Everybody can drive the boat, but not everybody is a boat captain, as I keep saying. Boat captains know how to lay out the course. So when you tell us you're a boat driver, we really like to know whether that means you are capable to be the boat captain. You also need to know whether you're a member of St. Francis Yacht Club. It's important for us to mix the members among the non-members so we don't have a boat full of members and a boat full of non-members. So to repeat, what are the prerequisites to be on the race committee at St. Francis? Well, you need to love the outdoors. You have to love the wind and the water, getting wet. you really want to help people have fun, you need to enjoy the camaraderie. Nobody likes to be on a boat with someone who is sitting alone in one corner of the boat while everybody else is trying to talk to each other. You have to have ability to focus when everything is happening around you that you may not be a part of. You have to have physical agility to be on a bouncy boat. And of course, you need to have desire to have fun. And what are the benefits for race committee members at St. Francis Yacht Club? Well, we put on the end of the year race committee appreciation party, which is typically in November. We hope that this season occurs, so we have one of those in November 2021. And there is race committee swag, shirts, t-shirts, hats, glasses, that kind of fun stuff. For those of you that participate in multiple days, you get priority to be on the race committee, on the big boat race committee, which gets filled up fairly easily. And if you're really active and a non-club member, you can possibly become eligible to be a Corinthian member of the club. And if you're an active racer, it'll help you be a more competitive sailor. Most importantly, we're here to have fun. So thank you for your interest. I'll see you on the water.